Welcome to Aquarian Anarchy. Hi, I'm your host, Marcus Pulis, and you'll see Nico, who appears to be slightly frozen at the moment. He might have to jump out and come right. Oh, there he is. You looked frozen to me, brother. And you'll see my co-host Nico beside me. Unfortunately, Chad will not be able to make it tonight. He is still tackling some business work on Wednesday nights, and hopefully he will return next week. Got to get that money. Speaking of money, make sure you like, share, and hit that bell icon, and definitely go hit the store. We have a bunch of really nice t-shirts. We have a lot of nice background drops. We've got all kinds of posters and craziness in there based on libertarian / anarchist ideas, and go check that out. Also, follow us on Patreon for $5. You can possibly, or you can be put into the chat in Telegram, and that's a really good place to learn a bunch of information. We share a lot of private stuff there, and we've also become quite good friends. And you last week you saw Hotep Daryl came on here, and he's one of our people that are in our chat, and he got to join and talk and experience what it is to be on one of these podcasts. And so definitely go out, check all that out. Tonight we have a special guest. This guy I've known for probably going on 2 years, at least a year. And we run in very similar circles. He worked for Dan Berman and Nicholas Wildstar and a lot of libertarian activists. He helped us to get Daryl Cotton on here a few months ago. And that was a hell of a conversation. Michael has done his own work too. Not only does he do stuff behind scenes, which I personally, from my experience working for Adam, is very important. People don't know that a lot of the hard work is actually done by staffers. The candidates' job is to show up and look pretty. Our job's to make sure that he shows up and looks pretty. And so I think that by itself should be showcased a little bit more. But Michael's also a activist in his own right and has a lot of information that he'd like to share with our audience. Michael, just to kind of prepare you, not only is our audience largely anarchists and libertarians, but we also have a pretty huge influx of Black conservatives, also called HOTEPs, that pay attention to our channel as well. So just so you're aware, you are likely going to kind of have a mixed bag of people that are going to receive this content. I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming on, and I'll let you take the introduction from there and talk a little bit more about what you want to talk about tonight.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for having me. And alternative podcasts, alternative media, it's so important. This is really the only way I see us getting a chance to get the truth out there and to drive towards unity. And unity can be achieved. Don't start none, won't be none. That is unity. And so forth.
For sure.
So, I thank you. So, and really, people need to try a little bit more. You need, to work behind the scenes and help candidates run. And working with Maj up in Philly, as well. And you just got to get out there and try. And if people, their haters are going to hate, Cat Williams. So with that being said, we're here to talk.
Sure.
Thank you. We're here to talk about Hempgate. Okay, Kentucky Hempgate. And there is an Ohio Hempgate as well, and that has to deal with land deals and so forth. So leave it up to the government. They're going to have multiple gates involved in different states. So I'm trying to bring the story. Thank you. I'm trying to bring the story of King's Royal Biotech and just really let people know what's going on in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky is known as one of the most corrupt states in the Union. but everybody tries to, outdo that badge, Michigan, etc. But with these midterms coming up, we got Ryan Quarles, who is the secretary of Kentucky Department of Agriculture, KDA. And his public comment was, "I'll do any business except Keith Taylor." So let's talk about what Hempgate really is. A California resident who was a co-founder of California's Finest, being Outdoor Grow Cannabis Cigarettes. And so this guy knows how to grow. And you can grow cannabis equals stem, and hemp equals stalk. And that's, to me, the fastest way to tell the story of the two different plants. And CBD concentration in hemp is between 1% to 5%, but in cannabis, it's 5 to 25%. So if you're a businessman, you're going to try to grow more cannabis outside to get the concentrate, so you don't have to grow that much acreage of hemp. So that's the first science, lesson.
Bang for your buck.
Yeah, exactly. And then hemp can't grow closer than 5 miles to cannabis because of cross-pollination, and it seeds out cannabis. So you got to know when you're planting stuff. And Keith Taylor was the first from Murray State, Kentucky. That is the university that gave him the 2,300 acres, 2,300 acres of industrial hemp grow in 2018. So this was under the 2014 Farm Bill, and USDA finally said, we're ready to go ahead and go to an industrial grow, and it's just acreage. Now, keep that number in mind that the state of Montana today is the largest in the union with 23,000 acres of hemp growing up in Montana. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we're only talking 3 years and 10-fold, right? And again, Kentucky, is not the leader, and they wanted to be the leader. So the Ryan Quarles, the Mitch McConnells, the Jamie Coomers. So these names, are the politicians involved. So Keith got brought into Kentucky, and he paid $450,000 for 2 strains of hemp, Fibernova and Ella Campagna, which are Italian names because Marco Polo brought hemp from China through Italy. And so a lot of the high grade hemp seeds are Italian. And then Canada got involved because they were quicker, and they didn't have the same bureaucracy as the pay to play and the black market. How
sad is that?
Yeah.
The Canada's got us beat.
And yes, and it's just amazing, eh? So with that, so he was going to get pharmaceutical grade CBD isolate. Okay, so we're talking 99.2 and above, the really crystallized white looking. Yes, that cures cancer. And the pharma doesn't want to hear that, and so forth. Not. So we're dealing.
I want to pause right there because people don't understand. There's so many people that don't understand the actual science behind the study of cannabis and the use of cannabis. What you just said will blow a lot of people's minds that just don't understand. They don't understand that just because you're smoking on a little weed in your basement doesn't mean that you're suddenly never going to get cancer. That it does take some purification of the plant in order to get the correct chemicals out that do the things that you want it to do. Now, in a unregulated market, if we were dealing with real capitalism or a real free market, what we would be dealing with is competing. We would be dealing with people racing to market. How can I get the best strain of this kind of CBD or this kind of THC or this kind of whatever kind of cannabinoid they're talking about, we would be watching them race. Instead, we're watching governments try to find, whether you're talking about state government or you're talking about countries like Canada, the United States, that are trying to lock it down and make it easier access for big pharma to not get competition, so that big pharma and other large industries can monopolize it, and then you don't wind up with your choice. So I just wanted to kind of add that in there to put a little bit of nuance on what you're talking about when you're talking about the different strains and the purity levels.
Excellent. Thank you. And monopoly is the key word that we're seeing here. And there is a hemp roundtable in Louisville, Kentucky that King's Royal Biotech was asked to join and said no. And a lot of industries, lighting, coffee, there are cartels out there, folks. Okay.
Sure.
And it's
do you know when hemp was like officially legalized to start growing and picking up in mass production? Because it was illegal for some time, right? It was illegal due to it actually messing up like the paper industries way back yonder, and over time that nature. So when did the production and the allowance factor in with hemp?
Are you talking specifically in Kentucky?
Yeah, we can do Kentucky.
Well, USDA and the national is that 2014 Farm Bill.
Okay.
So we start off with that. Now, hemp was grown with George Washington, Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
And here's the thing with hemp, it's a 90 to 120 day growth cycle, and it's 9 to 15 feet tall. Okay. And it's those stalks, because that's where the mariner rope comes from, is the textile industry. Okay. What we're seeing in Oregon, they're not hemp. They're growing outdoor cannabis for the CBD levels. So just with that being said, we got 2014 was the Farm Bill. But again, when government gets involved, then Murray State and the politicians started jockeying. Well, we want Kentucky to be the leader. Mitch McConnell and his transportation Department of Transportation wife is part of the story. So just keep that aware of hemp on an industrial scale is going towards the textiles and to the medicine and the paper. Like you brought up, toilet paper is one of the best things, but it's the growth cycle. So with that, he partnered with China, and China is one of the largest producers of hemp in the world. Okay. And they have the hydrochloric acid approach of CBD extraction versus the ethanol or the CO2. So it's this technology that Keith Taylor brought in from China and Chinese investors, Chinese business partners to Western rural Kentucky. And then he was to build a processing plant, because you grow it, you can strike it down, and then you got to blow it down and bottle it and so forth. And they did a groundbreaking, but problems started coming. And the problems were the funding wasn't coming in from the Chinese investors, and plans got changed, and change orders, etc. Oh, we're going to grow this. Don't worry. Now, vertical wellness, 3 counties over in Trigg County, in October of 2018, built a processing plant. So you had one processing plant break ground in March and never open up, but another one opens up 2 counties away. Come on now. Right. So that's starting to show the good old boy, the cornbread mafia, the Kentucky corruption politics.
Right,
so,
paying hands so that their store gets opened and not Keith's.
Exactly. And they had a plan. So they brought the grower in, they brought the stoner in, they brought the guy that they thought they could manipulate, bribe, and intimidate. So he had in August, so things get the seeds get planted in May, and the groundbreaking didn't happen. He was started making noise about that. What's going on? What's going on? And then August, the report was 6,842 bales are in the field. So that was an account from one of his employees, and that equals roughly 27 million pounds of hemp. Okay, so these numbers.
Imagine the weed. if it wasn't hemp and it was cannabis. Woo,
well, here we go. Okay, so again, there's 2,300 acres, but you don't grow them all in a square. Life doesn't work out that way. So there's 5 farmers in multiple plots. So KDA, Kentucky Department of Agriculture, is supposed to go out and test and see the planting, see when it's knee high, see when it's armpit high, etc. They didn't do that. Okay. That was their failure as the leading the country. And that's why KDA and Keith Taylor started going at it, because they weren't doing the regulatory things that he knew needed to get done. And he didn't want to get in trouble. Now, keep in mind, hemp, there was arguments on saying hemp is a Schedule 1. It's on DEA's list. No, it's not. So you can't import CBD from China because it's regulated. So we can't get answers from our government because of the cartel and because of hands, washing hands or a favor for a favor. Okay. Right. So Keith Taylor was like, okay, what's going on with the 6,841 bales? And there's not that. No, we only have 318 bales. What?
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So that was the theft of that much product. And Keith isn't a farmer. He was flying around to Estonia and he was preparing to move the product once the product
He's a businessman.
Exactly. Exactly. So the textiles, the CBD, the paper, and so forth. So then in December, Keith files a AAA demand through arbitration. And that's the first email coming from the Rothschild Group on K Street in Washington, D.C., known as Hemp Problem, Western Kentucky. Okay. So anytime you have a lobbyist contact Senator McConnell's aide and say, these are the 2 reasons you're not checking on the product and there's no inspection. What's going on here? You guys are on notice. So that happened in December of 2018.
So I want to pause real quick. So does it appear, because this is what it sounds like to me. It sounds like the government planned on kind of sidelining the plan anyway. They had set it. It sounds like to me that they set it up to where it was going to not be in compliance by manipulating it and putting it in the hands of people that didn't know what they're doing instead of people that did know what they're doing. Am I about on where you're at?
Close. It's the trickery, because here comes the aha part from that December to January 2019. Guys, it wasn't all hemp that was grown.
Shocker.
Oh, yeah. So cannabis was grown on certain plots and hemp was grown on other plots.
So it's all cannabis now.
Well, the claim and evidence is what we're presenting here. So that's the claim. And then the evidence in January 19th in Pawhuska County, Oklahoma, one tractor trailer got stopped on Osage Nation. And they were escorted by Patriot Shield. Now, guys, tell me the last time you were on a hemp run escorting with armed guards.
Yeah.
Okay,
we might have been armed.
Right. So this has all been documented by Channel 6 News. Okay, so then photographs were taken. Wait a second, you boys in Kentucky are using super sacks? Super sacks are an industrial poly or fiberglass and a way to move biomass, and it was done in California. Keith brought the super sacks into Kentucky because he wanted his products to be properly handled. So he recognized the super SACs were in Pawhuska, Oklahoma at that time, okay, in January of 2019. So then he started contacting, he started whistleblowing, and he says they are growing cannabis, not hemp, and they're masking it with the transportation of hemp. So the manifest will read hemp, but you have so many packages of hemp and then so many bundles of cannabis. And it recently in the news, okay, we're talking 2021, there was a G6 stopped and the manifest was hemp and they had it cannabis. So this masking of Department of Transportation occurred. Mitch McConnell has the federal omnibus bill stating that there are no federal resources allowed to interdict and interfere with hemp transportation. So wait a second, you got a Kentucky senator wrote a bill saying, nah, you can't touch, if it's got a hemp manifest, you can't check it. And lo and behold, so 5 out of 12 of the samples came back cannabis. Okay.
Shocker.
And we have the DEA, test results. Okay. And so forth. So Keith Taylor started whistleblow. Okay. This is a classic whistleblow. You got somebody in the inside observing, lights everybody up. DEA, FBI, USDA. So, the months, and he's been sued. He was suing. There were several, there was about 4 civil cases in Western Kentucky. Okay. And, but then they started getting aggressive because he was a whistleblower. The night of the Kentucky Derby, somebody broke into his hotel room, tried to do a hit. The hardest thing to get is a paper trail, is a police report. He wasn't able to get a police report from the hotel and so forth. So that was hit 1, attempt 1. And then working with other lawyers later on and after the Derby, he went back into Kentucky and there was another guy that met him outside of a lawyer's office. And as you know, Kentucky, or you don't know, Kentucky is a Constitution carry state. So his sidearm was unbuckled, okay, and so forth. And he knew something was up, so he jumped in the car and hightailed out of there. But he knew that was hit too. Then he started getting texts, "You better shut up, boy. You're going to get a Kentucky caning. We poisoned your pool, all the way out in California."
Can I get an elaboration on a Kentucky caning right quick?
Okay. Just like Singapore, they whip you with a cane. Okay, for punishment. Right. Well, in Kentucky, a Kentucky caning, it's not for punishment; it's for death. So it's the
sick shit right there.
Yeah.
So I want to take a moment and because I like to find some silver linings, and all of this is awful shit, and that's just the way it is, but. What we can do with the information that you're giving us is when people are beyond the fact that taking direct action and those kinds of ideas to help and putting it on podcasts like we have tonight and those kind of things. But beyond that, this also gives a case in point. What you've described, if you took cannabis out of the equation and put alcohol in from the 20s, this could have been a story that would have been, right before the prohibition. You have the tightening of, because it's kind of opposite because it's a loosening now, but you have at that time you had the tightening of restrictions by the government on alcohol starting to form a mafia. We would call them government, but they, but they are mafia from what, like talking about like from New York or Chicago or those kinds of areas. And so these kinds of stories show you in detail. You just described exactly what happened during the 1920s and 1930s with prohibition, with alcohol. You just showed how they did these kinds of things with cannabis. Again, this is, people need to understand, because they constantly see us as anarchists and libertarians looking at government always as this negative thing, and saying you're just blowing it out of proportion. No, directly in what you're talking about, government has empowered people to act like a mafia through their actions directly, and that is what happens. So we can use this as a case in point to how many millions of libertarians across the country are saying there is a direct comparison between what has happened with cannabis and the influx of crime and those kinds of things around that, and the prohibition with alcohol. So I want to point out to people that this is a proof. Sure, it's circumstantial and it is just one item, but it definitely is starting to make a case that is not, just some wacky anarchist screaming in the woods. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add that for our audience.
No. Well put. And yes. So with Keith Taylor trying to get the results in June from the January traffic stop, that's my stuff. Let me test it. Strains. Okay. The goons of KDA are Kentucky State Police. So Kentucky State Police and Oklahoma said, you got to get a police report for your stolen crop before we'll allow you to get it tested. So Keith was trying all the way, since September, trying to get a police report. But Kentucky State Police says, no, and we got an arrest warrant for you. Turn yourself in. Huh? So this is with Kentucky KRS 524.040, intimidating a participant during a legal procedure was the charge. Keith Taylor got picked up at his house on July 11, 2019 by U.S. Marshals with machine guns. Pulled him out over the loudspeaker. Okay, so now I'm talking to you about intimidation and retaliation of the whistleblower. So he's already said, hey, these guys are growing cannabis and they're masquerading it with hemp. That's my statement from my lab work and my field work. Okay. Second thing, here's the traffic stop in Oklahoma. Here's the evidence. Test it. Okay. Wait, you're making too much noise. We want you to go away. You didn't do what you said you were going to do, and let's just make your life a living hell. So then the warrant did not show up until until July 19th, eight days later. So we have an open FOIA request with the U.S. Marshals to see this. We still don't know from the arrest records, the grand jury, what was the threat. Now, let me explain how corrupt Kentucky is. Daniel Cameron is the Attorney General of Kentucky right now. He is running for Senate to take Mitch McConnell's seat. He did go to college on the scholarship. He was a partner of Frost Brown Todd. That is the organization law firm of the Hemp Roundtable. Okay. So Daniel Cameron had 87 Black Lives Matters protests on his lawn July 15, 2020, in regards to the Breonna Taylor crime. Okay. Guess what? All 87 of them got charged with. You got it. Intimidating a participant during a legal procedure. This is known as a shut up charge or go away charge. It's being used in Kentucky all the time. Now, 2 days later, 87 of those individuals, the charge got dropped. Still to this day, that charge sits on Keith Taylor's head. Okay. So there's charges. Now we're showing, the manipulation of state government,
Of course.
using federal assets and federal agents to do their bidding. Okay. So Keith Taylor was in the hole. Okay. From July 11th all the way to December 12th. Never got extradited to Kentucky and never had a trial. He fought extradition because he was going to get killed. Okay. He was lucky he didn't get killed in LA County. We're seeing how dangerous prisons and detention centers are.
Sure.
Okay. So he knew better. And Keith Taylor was a Special Force Marine and also a Stanford graduate at economics. But he's really got a foul mouth. He cussed like a sailor and so forth.
We like that. We like that.
Well, to the point, it's borderline Tourette's working with him for 14 months. But that's the thing, is they thought they could control this wild child, okay? And they thought that they could use his money and skirt and use him as the fall guy if they ever got caught with growing cannabis on this large outdoor scale, because he was growing, California's finest in back in the day, okay? So they're playing chess with this guy's life, okay? Right. But they didn't realize, as they do, well put. So he got out in December, and I'm a cannabis advocate. I'm a caregiver in the state of Maryland. I have patients. It's all about education and information, getting people the medicine. And I live an 840 life versus a 420 life, and that's just low key, mature. At 840, I spark up versus 420. That's just how I roll. Okay. Right. So with that being said, I met up with Keith in January through a videographer who was trying to help him out all the way since the arrest, because the videographer was there. How chilling is this? When you have U.S. Marshals say, "We know who you are. We know who she is. We don't know who you are." Okay. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And Texas 32, Colin Allred. Okay. Come on, Texas, because the videographers from Texas, just today we got our push-off letter or blow-off letter from his office. Okay. Saying that we've talked to DOJ and we're working with them and we'll keep you abreast. But the videographer wrote, tell me exactly who, name, title that is.
Right.
Nothing.
Given an identity. Right.
Exactly. So just know this story here is going to be repeating itself over and over again, because now I would like to kind of go into the mofo proto, because we're trying to set this up as a documentary, because this is cray beyond.
Yeah,
okay.
Before you go to the documentary, how big is this, like, touching the news and like the media outlets in Kentucky? And then why haven't I seen anything like this, like in Twitter blowing up?
Okay, good question. Well, media's bias, beyond bias, and that's true. Why we're at your door tonight. Okay. Two, if you got Mitch McConnell, I mean, come on now.
Right.
You got Mitch and
they're
Jamie.
greasing the right hands.
Yeah.
And, have you sought out any, not that I think that it's definitely going to do that, but when you say Kentucky, my brain says the only congressman that is worth a shit in Congress is a Kentucky congressman. Have you had any conversations with Thomas Massie about all of this?
His office has been received what is known to all congressmen, and it's this letter that was written for Colin Allred. Okay, but then everybody in California got it. Everybody in New York got it. Everybody in Kentucky got it. And their response is, we can't, by ethics, we can't talk about this. You need to go see a lawyer. So it's a blow off. Okay. Right. And
so even Thomas Massie is blowing you off.
Sir.
Is what
yes,
you're
sir. Yes.
Okay. And just for those, I want to be clear. I'm an anarchist. I don't believe in any of this bullshit. I don't believe in, I helped Adam because he was trying to take down the federal government. So I'm an anarchist. That's where I play in this. But out of all of those tools of the mafia that are out there, Thomas Massey is the best that I've seen that is currently in the mafia. I would say that Ron Paul was slightly better than Massey is, but only slightly. And but what Michael has just put before you is the best of the national representatives in Kentucky and frankly in the country blew him off over a supposed libertarian subject. The cannabis is supposed to be a libertarian thing. We're supposed to push that forward and all that stuff. Now, sure, there's leftists that buy it too, but they also elected Joe Biden. So I don't believe in any of that electoral politics bullshit. But the guy who is supposed to be the most on our side of everybody in there blew him off. And I want to see people maybe give him a call, maybe say something. If you're in Kentucky, you might want to contact Thomas Massey and say, why did you blow off? And you can bet your ass that tomorrow when I'm posting this, he will be tagged in this and on Twitter, and I will ask directly, why did you blow off a libertarian topic about cannabis as a business when there is obvious corruption? I'm going to say something along those lines. So reach out, people, do what you can, put pressure. It's not like I think they're going to make anything of it, but if anybody is going to touch this on a political level that can actually do anything to bring any attention to it, it would be Thomas Massey, and you better get out there and start trying to get him to look at it.
Well, I think
due
to the situation that has recently occurred, and I mean, Black America is making a big hoo-ha out of this, but Shakara and weed being a problem in the first place.
Right.
We all can agree here that weed's not that bad.
Right.
So for somebody of such high stature, and then for all this shit to go down just over weed is a problem. Like, is a legit problem.
Right. We're not talking about cocaine.
No, not at all. We're talking about a simple plant that can have various building properties, not just weed, hemp. Hemp is one of the strongest materials we have on this planet and the most versatile materials on this planet. Going to the sturdiest table to some of the most comfortable clothes that you could possibly wear on your body. So on top of that, then we have another plant that's called weed, and it extracts THC and cannabis or CBD from it, and both of those have healing effects. It expands your mind. You can go crazy if you smoke too much of it and have no discretion on your smoking habits. But besides that,
I must be nuts.
Besides that, all of this pressure and unnecessary bullshit and who to ha and how to who over plants is a problem. Is a serious problem. It's not as big. Go ahead.
No, it also begs the question, because it isn't that, why are they trying to hold it away?
That's the key problem. That's the key question is, since it's not that bad, it's 2021, guys. We know practically everybody or everybody's other neighbor smokes weed. Like, it's not a closet drug anymore, supposed drug, plant, whatever it is. Why is it being dismissed? It's a simple product. It's a simple solution that can fix a lot of things, but there's a lot of pushback, and it's unnecessary pushback.
If I could say two phrases, okay, and really kind of get these out there. Cannabis is policing for profit. That's the big brouhaha. That is
You're right.
one of your whys, okay? And with the Olympics and so forth, it's saying you broke the rules, so therefore you will be punished. It's not about the plant; it's the control of the players.
Right.
I want to have control over you, so that's policing for profit. And
sure. And I want to point to your point, Michael, I want to point out that to go back to the beginning of this conversation, they set it up to fail. They set it up to where it would not be pure. They knew that going into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then the power protecting power. That is a phrase that is going out out in California with Recall Newsom, and them adding the 5-year tax returns, the 100 signatures, all pushing up the election date. We are seeing power protecting power.
Right.
And with the Olympics games and so forth. And so it's not about the weed, it's about the incarceration. It's about the lawyers. And if we do that true expose, investigate, audit, that is the scariest word you can say to KDA, Kentucky Department of Agriculture. We're going to audit your books. Oh, okay. Yeah. Kentucky State Police, we're going to audit, because I did make contact with them. Well, I'll kind of go over the push, okay? But that's why, okay, in my opinion, IMO, okay, it's policing for profit and it's power protecting power. That needs to be put on the t-shirts. And you got marijuana policy project, normal, and drug policy alliance, put all 3 of those guys, lobbyists, okay, together. I've contacted all of them, tried to work with them, always get blown off because they're lobbyists and their job is to lobby. So we'll kind of ting them, but again, Rand Paul wrote a congratulatory letter to the guy that said Keith Taylor threatened him, being executive judge Greg Terry in Carlisle, Kentucky. So sorry, folks. Rand Paul. I could show you the letter and so forth. So if you want to knock on somebody else's door in Kentucky, and also understand Jamie Coomer is in West Kentucky, so he's the House member, because when you call up, are you a constituent? What district are you in? That is the fastest way they can shut you down. Okay. They dig for that information first to not even talk to you. Okay. So Jamie Coomer, is like, wait a second, we got emails with him. So those are the 2 things, is policing for profit. And Texas is the biggest example of this, where the prison population is slave labor. Audit Texas. Come on now, folks. You said it was 2021. Let's just crack open the books and look at the denim, the mops, the chemicals that are made in prison at slave labor. Okay. So that's the real audit that needs to take place. You got to take the money out of the criminalization of it and let people go to market with it.
Right. And they see that happening, and that's why what they're doing is they're monopolizing it. When you talked about the Rothschilds earlier and those sort, if you will, the Rockefellers and all of them, that's what they do. George Soros, when he does something, what he typically does is he tries to take over an entire sector. And when he takes over the sector, he has the ability to take it down. And one of the things, there are, Nico talked about, you talked about, I've talked about, that cannabis has a bunch of very positive things that can happen to the human psyche, to the human body, to all of those things. That plant it's not perfect for everything, but it is a very good plant. But you start messing with that gene, and you start messing with the plant itself through whatever these major corporations would do. The first thing they're going to think of is, we all know that cannabis is not addictive. It's not a physically addictive substance. One of the first things they're going to do, you can look at cigarettes and see that, yes, tobacco is like 10th most addictive or something like that, but cigarettes are number 1, and the reason, which beats heroin. And the reason is because they add a bunch of chemicals to your pack of cigarettes to make it addictive. And that's among other things that they do. So if they monopolize cannabis, whether it's in Kentucky or somewhere else, what they can do is they can then control it. They can turn a medicine into a disease. They can turn it into something that hurts you. Instead of curing cancer, it might cause more cancer. And again, I will point out to people that think that if they're smoking a joint, they're curing their cancer, they're retarded. They are not. but at the end of the day, we are talking about because that's what government does. It monopolizes. That is all it does. And other than kill people, it does that pretty well too, but it's good at doing it. It monopolizes killing people too. But what they're trying to do, in my opinion, with a lot of this information and a lot of what they're doing is they're trying to get it to where they have complete control over it. And so that these major corporations, that when you look behind them, take a step back and look at who's controlling the corporations. If it is somebody like George Soros, or if it's somebody like a Rockefeller, or if it's somebody like Bill Gates, or any of these evil fucking people, then you need to be aware that they are using the popularity of cannabis to find a way to further enslave the population, or possibly kill them. And so we need to stop these things from becoming monopoly. I don't want to have to go buy my weed down at the gas station. I want to be able to grow it in my goddamn garden.
I was about to say, cut the middleman, grow your own shit. That's how you take care of everything. To be honest,
sorry, had to go on a rant.
No. You made a great point about the monopoly. People really investigate cartel, because cartel is when you have three branches of government involved. And look at this case. So we got the courts tying up the guy. We got the popo beating, threatening him and getting him arrested and throwing a chump charge on him. We got the legislators going, first of all, not doing anything. Okay, or they create a bill, the omnibus bill, to truck hemp and not have interdiction. Okay, so that's a cartel. That's monopoly. Right. Okay, and then grow your own. I'm very familiar with the DC scene, I-71 and DC Grow, and everybody grows their own medicine. And that's the way life should be. So I'm a huge and it's when people turn the vacant houses into grow houses, and they see the money and so forth. But so that's the California 215 versus Prop 64 argument or debate and so forth. So you can grow your own stuff and grow some of the best stuff and take care of your medicine. It's the fear. Again, it's power protecting power. It's the policing for profit, to when they start snatching people up and start doing raids. I don't feel safe growing my stuff anymore. So it's
you don't
war.
feel safe because you use the word medicine, and Big Pharma don't like you using their copywritten words. So they're most definitely going to come and fuck with you. Like, that's just it. That's all. But if all of America, and not just America, everybody else in the world were to start growing their own poisons, if you will, if they sat down and distilled their own liquor and all that other shit, it wouldn't be as bad as a world we really portray it to be. Like, it's really not that bad. Granted, we're in a world where tyrannical government rules over everything, and so therefore, we don't own a lot of the shit that we really thought we owned. So growing your own shit is a problem, but it's not a problem when you don't call it medicine.
Right.
Oh, for sure. And let's just talk about the medicine names in this story. GW Pharmaceuticals was in talks with Keith Taylor. GW Pharmaceuticals produced the first CBD pill. Okay. Oh, what's that? $7.2 billion between friends. And believe me, the name is Jizz Pharmaceuticals, bought GW Pharmaceuticals. Okay. So Big Pharma already knows what's going on in Kentucky. And you can look at the trades and let's talk about money laundering. What happens is, when a legal settlement, it's tax-free money, right? Okay. So if you sue Bob and Bob pays you a settlement, you don't have to pay tax on that settlement. So let's look at Xavi Siege, Gencana, this cartel that's going on. They sue one another and then they get payouts. So the lawyers are making money. Courts are making money.
Wow.
Okay. That's the cartel. And you can look it up. All this stuff is out there. Okay.
The
But
links are
Gen Con
down
is,
below too.
yeah. So Gen Con is a big one. And they got a restructuring of $750 million. I know, that's going to spark great joy, right? $750 million to reorganize. So come on now. I mean, we're looking for leaders, or we're just looking for conscious individuals to say, come on now, audit. And the audits will say, where did this $750 million really go, Gen Con? And then, the Canadian American and all these stocks, it's pump and dump and so forth, because they're suing one another just to pay each other off. And then there's the black wall. That's where lawyers don't sue judges. So we got, some bad judges in this story and some other stories. So if I move into, the rundown, okay. So in April of 2020, we started knocking at Louisville FBI, Kentucky State Police, and JCC, Judicial Council Commission. So we were trying to work with the executive and the judicial side, and they said with Kentucky State Police said he's got an open charge. Tell him to have his day in court. We're not doing anything. Okay. And that came from internal affairs. And they just wanted him back, and they wanted to intimidate him. Come back. Okay.
Yeah.
JCC, 3 times they said take no action. So we have judicial, we're calling out the judge. Wait a second. Why did you take the company away from Keith Taylor? Why did you have 4 different numbers of bails? Why did you put a conservator or a custodian involved? Keith Taylor had 2 custodians involved in his company, and they sold off the product and at an $800,000 loss. Why? To get him out of the game. Okay. Something that should have went for $1 million went for $200,000, and they kept the money. So that's back again to the auditing. They break people down through the courts and through the enforcement, and people aren't auditing and exposing this. Nico, back to your question. I'm sorry, I got lost. Was how come you haven't heard about it? Everybody in Kentucky's not going to talk about dirty laundry. Come on now. Okay. True. And that Kentucky caning is very serious. So am I going to open my mouth for some dumb white boy out in California? No. Okay. No, he's a stoner. He's a doper. So we ain't going to mess with them dopers. We got our moonshine, but we ain't messing with in our bourbon, but we ain't doing any of that. So the media there has hunkered down on the story that they have been told to tell. Okay. True. And Twitter's Twitter. We know it's blue. And, you're never going to see. We've contacted, and we have our no letters, and then we have our no list. Okay. American Thinker. Have you guys ever heard of them before? Yeah. Okay. No. Just today I got, sorry, we can't help you. So I put, this story in front of them. So I got over 100 media people from Kentucky, from Washington is where I really put a lot of pressure, the nation's capital, New York, Epic Times. I've had Keith Taylor go to Epic Times, and they did that Spygate, but they were trying to get rid of certain people. So the media is a pay to play, or they're going to report on what they're told to report. So just Epic Times really pissed me off because Keith Taylor's outside, took a picture. He's smiling to Miss Cho. Okay. Epic Times is a Chinese paper, folks. Okay. So, and she's like, oh, no photo. Okay. So I asked Keith to take, to give me evidence that he was at Epic Times trying to get the story told. So that's, and I'll make sure those images are available, because it's the hypocrisy to hilarious. It was like, right. Well, did you try Judicial Watch? Yeah, Judicial Watch will only go after cases they want. They're getting paid to go after.
Right. And a lot of people, and the difference between you and myself, Michael, is that we've played this game. We know how this works. And, I cannot tell you, when we were running for the Libertarian nomination, and by we, I'm talking about Adam Kokesh, you would think that that Alex Jones would have Adam on in a heartbeat, because he's been on Alex before multiple times, and you would think that Alex Jones, he'd be not a bit. Did not, it has never. I am telling you, there is not. I put out press releases probably on average of about 2 a week for 3 years. They got them all. Every single one of them. There isn't one they didn't get. Some of which were directly challenging Alex Jones to have Adam on, and they will not have him. And so I agree with you that the problem in this country with a lot of these issues is that our media is absolutely nothing more than propaganda. There is nothing else. I don't believe a thing they say. If they let truth slip, there must be something they're trying to destroy that they needed the truth for, because it took me beating, and I mean beating, for months on Judge Andrew Napolitano's door to get Adam on Kennedy. Now, I will grant Kennedy has had Spike, and they've had Smith. They've had Dave Smith on too. So I will give Kennedy a bit of credit, and I think that some of that was frankly, I helped lay the groundwork for some of that, because they had Adam on when they didn't have anybody else on. But it took a what should be an ally, Judge Andrew Napolitano. He knows Adam personally, and it took months of me sending, on top of those 2 press releases a week, pounding on that door, trying to get him to get into there, to get him on that show. So it is very difficult if you do not. And when you talk about pay to play, I cannot tell you how many times David Pakman, I contacted him to have a debate with Adam, and remember, he's a liberal, which I find this to be funny, but because he doesn't believe in, money's the evil and all that craziness. But he got back. He was the only person that had any kind of real starshine that when we did a push for debates, that came back and said, I might debate him. How much are you going to pay me? Was the next question. That the paywall is a real thing, and that's the problem. Why, if you want to know why libertarians are not included in a bunch of stuff, it's because libertarians don't have multi-million-dollar corporations funding their media campaign.
True.
There
So
you go.
to your point, Michael, it is getting the cannabis stuff. The revolution will never be televised. To get these issues handled, we cannot count on the media to do anything. One of my heroes is Thomas Paine, and I compare a lot of what we look at to the revolutionary times, and the problem we face is greater than in propaganda than they faced then.
Oh yeah,
because then everybody read a newspaper, everybody read little pamphlets. It was not difficult to get common sense into everyone's hand. We couldn't do that today because it would be banned. It would not be on Twitter. It would not be on Facebook. And the vast majority of people would never see it. And so we have to rely on each other. And I guess I'll take a plug for this. Share this video. Share it. Let people know that this is happening. And because we've got these are the kinds of things. Cannabis, and it's not just about smoking weed. People want to lob at us. Oh, you guys just want to get high. Yes, I like to get high. Getting high is fun, but it also helps my goddamn arthritis. It makes it easier for me to walk because cannabis is helpful for some people when it relates to arthritis. It is a medicine, and it is an effective medicine, and it is a medicine that moves towards cure and not towards treatment. And that's not what they want from us.
True.
Well put. But cure,
True.
versus treatment, and the alcoholism and the opiate addiction. That's, Jizz Pharmaceutical bought GW.
Still a funny name.
7.2 billion. 7.2 billion. That's the money we're against, and why the story isn't getting out, and so forth. So just keep that in mind. And from the FBI saying, do you have a case file? No. Stop calling here. That is what operator Louisville, Kentucky said. Okay. We sent certified mail to James Robert Brown, section chief, and to 2 of his underlings. No return. Okay. So after we go from Kentucky, we then go to DC. Now here comes some of the alphabet that maybe your audience hasn't heard of, but OPR, Office of Professional Responsibility, is in the Department of Justice. So they're supposed to keep an eye on their cops. Okay.
Right.
And so they said, okay, well, we're going to do it like this. Stuart L. Platt. Okay. And we're going to do it like this. We're going to kick it over to ID, Inspection Division, and within the FBI, third down from the director, Douglas Leaf. And we're also going to kick it over to DOJ, Office Inspector General, OIG. Now, OIG, they were the fastest ones just saying, we're not going to investigate this. And we're letting ID handle this. So then Inspection Division, we were talking with them in September of 2020. All right. COVID's rapid, and, we can't get face to face with anybody. And they blocked Keith's number, he said, because he tried calling in. We've talked with Douglas Leaf left twice. In December was the last touch with Inspection Division, FBI's Internal Affairs. Then come March, we get the scribble letter, as I call it. Okay. And it was a letter from FBI, Inspection Division, Internal Affairs. We're not going to investigate this case. And when I went to school, you type your name, then you sign it. We got a scribble letter. So we got a special agent who's just scribbled their name and wouldn't identify themselves. Huge red flag there, folks, because it's the accountability. So right now, Douglas, he had his underling give me a scribble letter saying that they're not going to investigate this. But that is evidence. That is the fact that where this stands with FBI. Okay. So then we've had many FOIAs, and then with the whole COVID thing, getting FOIAs out, use it, folks. But FOIAs aren't the silver bullet, but it's something versus nothing, because I've heard some FOIAs going on for 2 years. But USDA said no records. We challenged USDA, and USDA Specialty Crops Program. Okay. They're in charge of hemp. And William Richmond said Keith Taylor threatened him. So Keith gets me on the phone, and USDA OIG Joseph Oseo says, did you threaten this guy? And Keith started cussing at him and was like, well, I'm not going to take this, and we're done here. And I was like, Joe Oseo, you owe me a sworn affidavit. I'm coming for my sworn affidavit for these alleged threats. Click. And I haven't been able to get a hold of Joe Oseo ever again. Okay. But he's in LinkedIn. Okay. So where I'm going with this is we got 4 FOIAs. And the way FOIA works is, you get a number. We're FOIA 12, 94, 110, and now 112. Okay. Just within USDA. And they're looking at these records in between Kentucky Department of Agriculture. What they submitted was grown and harvested, because 27 million pounds of hemp was unrecorded, folks. Okay. That's how big this is. So we're just using accounting, like Capone got caught through tax evasion. We're using auditing in FOIAs to bring this case to light. That's not sexy. That's not glamorous. You're not going to see that on Twitter.
Right.
It makes people's heads hurt. But this is the gray matter of what we're doing. So that's FOIA with USDA, and we're working with DOJ, and they are non-responsive. So how it works is you have to go to the public liaison to tap on the FOIA officer, and we're in the process of that. But College Park got involved, and that's Office of Governmental Information Services, OGIS, and they're like, "Whoa, buddy, we're not the end all say all. We're just the mitigator, and we have trouble getting information from all these other government agencies. The only thing is, you got a case number with us now." So we got a case number with OGIS just trying to get information from DOJ. Okay, so there's some more alphabet that people don't realize how you got to attack this and how you got to dock it and clock it. And then our last FOIA is with U.S. Marshals trying to get the grand jury and in the orders. Why was this guy picked up? Why was no arrest warrant presented? Okay, this is big deal. This is kidnapping, folks.
Right,
when
for
they
sure.
scoop you up. So right now, and then Congressman Allred just gave us that blow-off letter. So we're working. That's where in July of 2019, where Kentucky Hempgate is. That USDA, U.S. Marshals, DOJ, Congressman Allred. We worked with Congressman Brad Sherman, and his underling said they don't know how to handle this. They don't know what to do. Okay, we got that.
How about you try? How about you give it a shot? There's your first step.
Yep. And Brad Sherman's, with big banks and against crypto. So there's a lot of, he's got his own stuff going on. Is he going to help out a constituent that no longer, so we're trying to tie down and just connect people. But the Chinese connection, you got Mitch McConnell's wife was the Secretary of Transportation. Come on now. Okay. Hemp's moving across. Cannabis is moving out of Kentucky to Colorado to processing. Okay. It's moving out. And if you don't pay tax on it, you're going to keep it on the low. And then Keith Taylor was also offered to buy 500,000 pounds of hot hemp. Yes, you can have hemp that has 8 to 12 to 15% THC in it. It's just a bad strain. So that's the other side. So you will have tall hemp that's hot, and they got to burn it, bury it, or chemically destroy it. None of that got done. So they wanted him to buy, 500,000. They said they had 2 million. This is in 2020, and they said they would have 10 million of hot hemp because it's when you look at it from the roadside. Oh, that's hemp. Okay, that's 9 foot tall. We're good. But no, you're not splicing and checking to see if it's hot. Okay. Right. So you can, sell hot hemp, at $900 a pound, and everybody's eating there. So that's what's really going on.
Can we discuss the definition of hot hemp, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. It's when hemp goes above the 0.3 on the federal scale of THC.
Okay.
So
it makes it hot. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And
so it's still hemp, but it has more THC than most other hemp.
It needs to be destroyed, buried, chemically treated. It needs to be destroyed. That is the USDA's records rule. Okay, so they're not doing this, and we're talking about 2 million pounds of it. So, and it's all about the seeds. You had that Clemson coach out in South Carolina. He bought bad seeds, and his product in his hemp planting failed, and he's got a lawsuit. Then out in California, there was tobacco and insurance claims. Everything comes back to the USDA. So keep this in mind. This isn't just economics and accounting. This is really showing you who the players are. And there's insurance policies. and so forth. So if a crop doesn't come up, the farmer still gets paid. But if the crop did come up, but they say it didn't come up, he can get paid twice. Hello?
True.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're not going to eliminate this shit. You just make it. That's why regulations don't work. Is because somebody's going to find a way around that shit and do what they can to make money.
Yeah,
so,
well, if I could say, we presented you actual documents from KDA.
right.
Upper Rayburn, 25 acres destroyed. Okay, date, time. Upper Rayburn, 25 acres sold. Nobody's looking at this, folks.
Right.
Okay.
Of course not.
But you guys have a copy of the PDFs with the marks just saying destroyed, sold. Come on now. This is cake and eat it too. So just want to make sure people know that this ain't, just get high and tell a story on a podcast. We got claims, we got evidence. We want you to look at it. Yeah.
Just to be clear, what he sent me, I have like loads of information. We put the links down below. I strongly suggest people check those out. So, Michael, what are you suggesting people do to get the word out, to talk to people, to try to get some change enacted, either for Keith or just in general for Kentucky or for cannabis? What's your suggestion?
I want to follow you. Get with Thomas Massey. Okay, let's give him a shot. And if he's got a gold, vein in him, let's see it. Okay, and you might not be his constituent, but just refer, and I'll make sure you have the email so his campaign manager Jonathan, and Cindy in the office. Because once you start name dropping his staff, okay, you're not a bobo off the street. And you could say on this date, blah, 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 was contacted, and looks like you blow him off here. Why won't you, or who James Robert Brown is, field chief at Louisville. So, and I'd like to kind of put like a directory, okay, all the sticky hands and so forth together. So that's like, I want people to swarm. I want people to get educated and actually just look at the evidence. And go on.
You can provide the human populace evidence, but will they look at it?
Will they have the opportunity to look at it?
Well, I'm looking at this podcast community, okay, because we know the Gen Pop, okay, they're not going to look at this. They're too worried about that. But we got to try, and that's sort of like, why are people running for office and so forth, and that's why we're here. Is we got to give it the try and just go to our grave knowing that we did something about Kentucky Hempgate.
True.
Yeah, and I do have to say, beyond and for those, Twitter is not activism. Just to be clear, just because you put some shit out on Twitter, that's not activism. What he's talking about is making phone calls and doing those kinds of things, getting a hold of Massey's his office and pressuring. Say, hey, you're supposed to be a libertarian. You're why aren't you taking action? So I did write this tweet that is going to go out as soon as we're done. And that is, so after this conversation with Michael Plumhoff, I have a simple question for Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, both tagged. Why did you blow off Keith Taylor? There is obvious corruption in Kentucky around monopolizing hemp. Check it out. And then link to this podcast. How's that sound?
That's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so again, Twitter is not the only place you should be doing this, but Thomas Massey is active on Twitter and he is popular on Twitter. What I also suggest is that you take this program and link it on his as a comment on his Twitter or Facebook or whatever social media you want to do. And when he comments about something, say, why haven't you addressed the corruption in Kentucky revolving around Keith Taylor and the monopolization of hemp? And just get it out there. Get it, people talking about it. Get people talking about how this is wrong, how this is taking someone who admittedly is a hothead. He's a bit of a hothead, but who isn't that's an activist? I'm a hothead,
Facts.
So why aren't these people taking action? We think we know that answer, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope to God that it isn't because Thomas Massie is corrupt. Please tell me that that's not the case. I really don't want it to be the case.
You know that those instances where like you ask like a famous person, hey, this or that, and they have to plead the fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it could possibly be pleading the fifth? Granted, he knows. I mean, everybody knows when batshit is actual batshit, but do you think he's just playing that kind of game, or do you just honestly think he's just dismissing it because he just has no fucks to give about it?
It's such a tar baby. That's what this case is, because it unravels all the pay to play. It unravels the goonism of KSP. They are the enforcer of KDA. You got two big elections coming up. You got Ryan Quarles for governor. Oh, don't want to get on that mess. So this is so political. You got Daniel Cameron going for Senate. Oh, he's a good guy. I was told by some Republican chairs, you can send them 1,000 certified letters. Daniel Cameron, I've sent him 2 certified letters, okay, thinking I was doing the right thing as part of this investigation and such. And he says, Michael, you could send 1,000 letters to him. He's not going to get them. He has handlers. Sure. He is such a babe in the woods that they're taking the Attorney General of Kentucky and trying to put him in U.S. Senate, all right, underneath Mitch. That should just make everybody just infuriated that he can't be burdened with facts, with truth. He's only going to do what the party tells him to do. That's how manipulated the system is, folks. And Edward Price, Attorney General Criminal Investigation, wrote to us. So we got names and we got the emails, folks. Okay. This is not just, we're not making this up. And he said, Mr. Taylor, we're not going to investigate. I see what you're doing. You're trying to use a criminal investigation for your civil pleadings. Our office is not like that. Now, who used a criminal charge to intimidate and retaliate on a civil matter? So pot calling black, right there. We got the Attorney General's people, okay? They're foot soldiers. They're enforcers shutting us down and just pointing out, we're not going to do what we did to you. Yeah. Wow.
And the thing is, with a lot of these names, this is why it's important for people to reach out to Thomas Massie and to Rand Paul, because they have the illusion, because I don't believe it for a second. I hope I'm wrong about Thomas Massie. I hope that he's really there and he's good. But Rand Paul is not. He is not there, but he has the illusion. So many people have said, oh, he's just a Republican because that's the way what he no, that dude is conservative. His dad's a different story. His dad, totally different person. But Rand, I've seen it too many times. He cozied up to Trump too much. That at the end of the day, that dude is gone. He is not a defender of liberty. You can make him the second best, for sure. It is money. You can make him the second best representative of any kind, whether you're talking about in the Senate or the House in Washington. Make him the second best. Sure, you can do that. And so you're saying the second best criminal, oops, these people have to maintain that image or they will not get reelected. It is part of their image. It is part of Thomas Massie's image to be pro-liberty and to be libertarian-leaning Republican. That's his identity. And how you get to these people is by going after their identities. How you get to these people is by challenging their power. Challenge their power. And how you do that is by making it public and making it obvious that these people are sellouts and are no different than Mitch McConnell. And I'm sorry, I wanted for Rand to be different than that, but unfortunately he's not. I still have hope for Thomas Massey, but not a lot. So do you have anything you want to say and wrap up, Michael?
Just thanks. And we got the evidence, and just continue with fighting for liberty, because and you were talking about, if I could, like with the precinct system, okay, we got to be our own dissemination of real media, and the precinct strategy is doing well in Arizona, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Horrible in California, horrible in Wisconsin. And what I'm bringing up is both parties, blue and red, they have this thing called a precinct committee, and it's bottom up representation, to where Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders and Yang, they didn't get the nod because the precinct system wasn't enforced, wasn't working. It was the money and was the higher power moving the puppets around. If we use this process of the precinct strategy, look that up, because it's out there, folks. Okay, just both parties don't want to talk about it. All right, but where I'm going with this is we got to disseminate this information locally. We might not live in Kentucky, okay, but we got to get people to swarm. And it's like, did you read the evidence? Yeah, I did read the evidence. Will you call into Kentucky? Will you call into Washington? Because right now everything is at USDA's door. Okay, Phyllis Fong is the Office of Inspector General. She is OIG, and she's Chinese heritage. Robert Baguette closed out the complaint out of Florida, Chinese heritage. And I'm not saying all the Chinese people that are in our federal government are covering this up, but I would ask them to kind of look at the evidence and look at the situation here, because it looks awful shady, stinky, and dirty. Okay. So with that being said, just try the precinct strategy, and hopefully I could talk about on another show the prop out in California. The Prop 215 medical, and then Prop 64. That is a law now, making it recreational, but that is a monopoly. Look at all the players out there in California. Look at all the raids. And so if there's any lawyers out there that would like to look at a writ about positive conflict, and Clarence Thomas was in the news, folks, okay? And he was talking about positive conflict, meaning federal versus state. We have a positive conflict in the enforcement of cannabis laws. I have a writ from Daryl Cotton of 151 Farmers, who
alumni.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just trying to give that shout out. Any lawyers that watch this podcast, contact the podcast, and we'll make sure you can take a look at the writ, and we only need one person to file it. Okay. And
all right.
I was told that New Jersey Weed Man's looking at it, and New Jersey Weed Man's running for Jersey governor. Okay. And possible his lawyers looking at it to file it into California. So if those players, say, hey, did you read the writ yet? And it's about reading this kind of stuff. It's not going to put you to sleep. It's just going to make you angry. It's going to get you fired up once you take the time and read it. So thank you very much.
So if someone wants to get in contact with you, what is the best way to do so?
What is the best way is because I'm in Facebook jail for 30 days. Okay. It's literally my email. Let's just go with that. And it's very transparent. Michael. plumhoff@gmail.com. If they could contact you,
Sure.
as backup, or because you know how spam works and so forth,
I
and
do.
hold me accountable too. Hey, I try to get a hold of that, funny guy, and he's not responding to my email. Well, it could be because I didn't get the email, folks. But we know each other. We're in the fight, and so forth. And I'm very grateful that this finally happened, and I got on your schedule, and I was able to get this on film, and
Sure.
get this recorded in what you're doing. So, just contact revolutionaries in media, you guys, just keep on doing what you're doing, and we will, brick by brick, take down that wall.
For sure. The good guys win. And I do want to suggest people to look at all of that information, take action. The number one, none of this happens if people don't start acting. We can have theories and talks and conversations all day long. It does not matter. What you should gather, I think, from this conversation is that government in the cannabis industry is going to do what government does. And what government does is control, monopolize, and kill people. And so be prepared for that to come your way. And how we fight that is exactly what Michael suggested. Get involved locally. Do what you can locally. And I'm not talking about getting involved in the Libertarian Party. I'm not talking about getting involved with the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. I'm talking about get involved in your neighborhood. Be the guy that people talk to about these kinds of issues. Step up, be forward, and take action. If it means going to the local Republicans and fighting for this, do that. If it means going to the Democratic office, do that. If it means just screaming on a corner, do that. Whatever brings the most attention to this issue, you should do, because it's important. And it's not just about cannabis. Because once they get this kind of control over cannabis, they are going to strip us of more rights. They're going to strip us of more possibilities. So please take action. Nico, do you have anything you want to say before I wrap up?
All I would like to say is thank you for dropping these gems and this newfound knowledge upon me and the people. To be honest, this is a new, interesting experience when it comes to podcasts, because you came in and you basically broke down a whole entire. You got them, like you legit got them red-handed and everything, and it's just a new perspective on how weed really works beyond the dynamic of me just smoking it with my homies and myself. So, thank you for the gems. Thank you for this knowledge and your time. You, like I said, you dropped plenty of information, not just for me, but for the population that's going to be listening. And yeah, no, just thank you.
Thank you. You're
right on.
So welcome.
So if you've enjoyed this, if this is new to you, please like, share, and again, buy stuff at the store. All the links are down below. And we have weed products too, not like weed, but we have products that have pictures of weed on them.
Yeah. Just remind you to go smoke them.
Right. Good reminder. And definitely become a Patreon, a patron at Patreon. And at the $5 level, you can continue this conversation if you'd like in the Telegram chat. I want to say thank you to everyone that has watched this live, and I want to thank everyone who is watching it in its replay. And I'm hoping one of those people is Thomas Massey. Please get this information to him. Please do what you can. And the most important thing that y'all can do out there over the next few months is to not lose hope, to not say, oh, that's the government. You're never going to win, because we are. The good guys win. And the number one thing I want to say is stay free, my friends.
Peace.